The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, it's Matt from Hubdoc. We're going to be running through the webinar today. I have Dylan beside me.
Hey everyone.
And so Dylan and I are here to help you today. Generally, we're going to be running through an actual demo of the products, Hubdoc and Xero, showing you best practices on how to process documents and really, as the title says, how to supercharge your bank rec. So ideally, you just find some tips and tricks on getting the most out of our product, especially if you are using us for bookkeeping and kind of the entire bank reconciliation process. Now, I'll be running the demo portion. Dylan will be on hand to answer any and all questions. So if you do have questions as we move along, don't hesitate to write those in the GoToWebinar panel there. Either Dylan will respond to them in writing, or he'll stop me and I can run through the answer to the whole group. But really, we are here to help answer any and all questions that you may have. So if there's something that you'd like to ask, chances are it's been asked before. So please feel free just to write that there, and ideally it'll kind of benefit everyone on the call today. Perfect. So I don't want to run too long. We'll probably end around 2:30, 2:40 or so, depending on the questions. But without further ado, I think we'll just hop into Hubdoc right now. Perfect. So now, when entering a client's Hubdoc account, there's obviously a couple different things that you're going to notice, and you probably already noticed already, right? You have your folder structure here on the left side where you are able to access historical documents, and there's also this kind of document stream, and I think that document stream is sort of I guess a point where some people might get a little bit confused in terms of what's been processed and what's been done. So a large part of my presentation today will be basically demystifying, as some might say, that document stream, and basically giving you the tools and helping you better understand, okay, what's my call to action? What am I doing today? How much work do I need to get done within this client's Hubdoc file? So where I generally like to begin is with our automated connections, because what these connections can do is kind of multiple things, but one being they can help you get kind of caught up on a client's file with, I guess, less and less chasing, less and less time wasted getting historical documents. So for instance, if you're onboarding a new client, or perhaps you're just doing kind of quarter end or year end cleanup work on a client's file, you're actually able to fetch and file historical documents. So I think that many of you and many of our users know about our banking connections that are valuable. I'll touch that in a second here. But a huge part of our platform is actually, fetching supplier invoices and receipts that do actually help you reconcile transactions on a bank feed. So just to show you, one example of those would be Telstra. And if the client can come in here and input their login credentials, Hubdoc actually goes ahead and fetches all of the available historical bills from the Telstra portal. So there might be, months and months and months worth of unreconciled transactions that you're trying to do work on, and Hubdoc can actually get you those transactions immediately and automatically, instead of placing that administrative burden on your client to download and send those to you. Now, another, I guess, awesome part about these automated connections, once we start fetching, is that the data extraction is instantaneous. Once these documents start flowing in, the data gets extracted automatically. So there's no wait time with regards to data extraction. You're actually able to begin that process of pushing over, encoding, reconciling quite quickly and efficiently. Now, just to show you our list, and many of you probably have this list, but In addition to all these banking connections, we do have a number of supplier connections. We fetch from tolls, we fetch from fuel portals, uh, retail portals like Bunnings, Middies, and Reese, Coca-Cola, Fuji Xerox, Officeworks, Woolies. We've just built a connection to realestate.com.au to fetch the invoices from that self-service portal. Vic Roads, you can get the vehicle registration GST, as well as a number of software vendor connections and telco and utilities. So, the idea behind all of this is not only, getting all your clients key financial source documents in that one convenient place, but, the ability to help automate that historical work for yourself is, I think, a huge benefit. So, as you can see here, we've actually just fetched the last 11 months worth of Telstra bills from this particular account, and Hubdoc has actually extracted this key data automatically. So without having to wait for any lag time or perhaps your clients to find some of these documents and get them into you, Hubdoc's actually just gone ahead and fetched and filed those historical transactions. Now, that's just my advice in terms of getting started. The more we can automate on the front end, the more we can go out and get for you during these initial fetches, ideally eliminates a lot of this work that not only you do on historical catch-up jobs, but even on an ongoing recurring basis, because these connections do run nightly. So, the same day that a document becomes available, Hubdoc will pull it in, that same day. If you do see any irregularities with any of our connections, please ping us at support@hubdoc.com.au. I guess in most senses, we do have tools and we are able to see kind of larger scale problems with connections and are able to act quite efficiently, but there can be edge cases based on how a certain portal sets up and what exactly, there might be a use case on that client's portal that is acting funny. So there are at times edge cases that we need to sort out ourselves. But obviously, just in terms of getting those documents is hugely valuable. Now, with regards to banking connections, I think that this value is sort of obvious, and for us, and the way I see it is, it's really that value at month end, quarter end, year end, when you are trying to close out a client's file. Without that bank statement, you're sort of relying on unverified data, right? You're relying on bank feed data that, as much as it's great and it's automated and kind of transformed a lot of the industry, you still need that verified bank statement that is the document that is basically verified data that's been approved by that financial institution. So our ability to automatically get you that document not only allows you to efficiently, but also accurately and confidently close out a client's file. So, for instance, these bank statements get you that data historically, and we also fetch CSV files from many of our banking connections as well. So anything that indicates yes beside it, we will fetch a monthly CSV. So that's going to also help automate. Obviously, if you do need to create transactions historically, and perhaps it's just one of those cleanup jobs where you need to maybe create a bank feed that goes further back than the bank feed in your accounting platform might go, those CSV files just help you do that automatically without burdening the client with having to download transactions and send them to you, or perhaps having a PDF to CSV conversion software do that less than accurately. So this is kind of the idea of the fetching of documents and getting documents into Hubdoc historically. Now, with regards to uploading documents, this is sort of, I would say, 75% of the time in the use case of Hubdoc, it's the part where your clients come into play. Now, your clients generally, when you add them to Hubdoc, they create their own unique login, and they're able to snap pictures of invoices and receipts from the mobile application. They can email documents into Hubdoc. They can also browse and directly upload. Now, a couple different use cases that can happen here. First and foremost, I'd say that giving this email directly to a supplier is often convenient for your client. If they still like to see documents come through their email because perhaps they're handling bill pay in a particular account, if it's not on direct debit, they could actually see that come into their email, but maybe set up an automated email forward so that it does get into Hubdoc automatically. And finally, the browsing and uploading from a computer. That's what I'm going to kind of touch on today. What I often do, and I guess my primary use case for getting documents into Hubdoc, besides using the mobile app, is actually using a ScanSnap scanner that sits on my desk. So generally, I have my ScanSnap scanner folder open and I scan documents directly into Hubdoc. They appear immediately in this folder. And then I can just, quite easily upload them to Hubdoc without too much fuss. So I can actually have that open as I'm scanning documents in and have those appear on our platform. Now, as many of you might have seen, that was extracted quite rapidly. We have undergone some improvements in adding machine learning to the data extraction within our product. So with regards to something that is a true PDF, we will extract that quite efficiently if there is an account created for that already. So not only do true PDF documents get extracted instantaneously, but also, automatically fetch historical documents get extracted instantaneously as well. So before I get into some other nuts and bolts and best practices, I did just want to show you, how quickly and efficiently we can push documents through to Xero and really automate bank reconciliation, especially once these supplier rules are set up. So what I'll do is actually head back to an account level and show you how to set some of these up to automate that. Now, the first thing I'll do is actually just set up these Telstra rules. What I did is I just fetched this Telstra account, so I haven't actually set up rules for it yet. So what I'll do here is just configure account level rules. Now, I'm just going to code this as an authorized purchase. My workflow is that I review everything in Hubdoc before publishing through to Xero. So in that world, publishing through as a draft is just a step that I don't need in my workflow because I'm actually reviewing that my GST is correct, that all my data is actually correct before publishing that through. So in this case, I'm coding this in this way because when I publish over to Xero, I actually want this to match up with my bank feed automatically. Now I'm just going to look at that. That all looks good. I'm going to click save there at an account level. So since I've actually made this configuration at an account level, those same rules then go ahead and get applied at a document level. Now, the same thing is true for manual accounts. So automated are accounts we fetch. Manual would be accounts that you upload. So for instance, I've configured my Apple Store receipts to have these certain rules applied to it, right? I know that Apple is going to have GST applied to that total each and every time. So it's very easy for me to set up that tax rate so that when a receipt from the Apple Store gets uploaded or emailed in, that in this case happened, we actually apply that tax rate and everything gets calculated quite simply. And I'm just basically having to review this document and publish it through. Now, the same thing was done for Jetstar. So I uploaded Jetstar, and since I had actually pre-configured rules for Jetstar, not only was the tax code applied, and that was done quite perfectly and automatically, but all of my pre-configured rules for Xero are done here. So basically all I need to do is click publish on that particular document. Now, with regards to Telstra here, what we'll see is this GST calculation here is obviously not 10% of the total. So I'm going to have to do and really use our extracted amount calculator. So what I do in this circumstance is toggle DST to extracted amount. I'd input 1364 and I click generate. Now, what I'm going to do just here for a second is actually step back because many of you may or may not have even set up this functionality as of yet. before we do that, as you can see, you can just see that we've automatically split the GST and GST free line items. We've done those calculations for you based on the GST amount that you input. So that was very, very easily done. And before we swing back, I'm just going to click publish to push through that particular document. Now, coming back here to kind of an account level into the destinations section, once you connect to Xero, you're going to have to click Publish Tax Data and set up this default tax rates. And basically what these default tax rates do is they automate this work here. So these taxable and tax-free portions will be pre-populated based on those rules. Now, in saying that, as will the rules at an account level. We don't have automated splitting rules beyond what you've seen there right now. But if you select an account code at this account level, as well as do that from the destination level, these extracted amount calculator rules will already be pre-populated, so you don't have to keep manually re-entering them on every document that comes in. I'll show you that within the next couple Telstra documents as well. So what we'll see here is on my bank feed, I actually have a number of historical Telstra bills I need to reconcile. So I actually just pushed through this 379, and I have 2 other Telstra bills that I would like to push through as well that Hubdoc historically fetched for me. Now, as we open this edit data bar, very similarly, I'll toggle to extracted amount. And as I mentioned, since we've kind of pre-populated these different fields, it's going to do that for me. I just need to enter the extracted amount and then click generate. And then right away, Hubdoc will calculate those 2 line items for me without much effort at all. And since I'm reviewing everything here, once again, I'm pushing this through as an authorized bill. For me, publishing through to draft is a bit of another step in my process. I think that for certain transactions, if I'm handling bill pay in a particular account, or if you need some approval process within Xero with other employees at a company or perhaps at your practice, pushing to draft is a suitable place to do that. And maybe in that circumstance, you just want to auto sync many transactions in Hubdoc to push through there automatically. But for me, in my bookkeeping purposes, I like to review everything in Hubdoc. And once it gets over into Xero, it's literally just going to match up automatically. So this will be the last transaction that I'll handle. And then I'll just click publish through here to Xero. That's the last Telstra transaction, rather. Now, kind of heading back here to my documents, the way I handle my checks and balances when publishing documents through from Hubdoc to Xero is I generally actually wait till items come through on my bank feed. Now, there's a couple different reasons for that, but I guess the primary reason that I do that is that oftentimes bank feed transactions have a bit of a peculiar supplier name. Oftentimes it's the parent company that comes through as a supplier, and in certain circumstances the date is quite a bit further back than the actual transaction date, or it doesn't line up exactly perfectly. So I just want to make sure that I'm not duplicating any transactions, and so generally I leave documents in review until that appears on my bank feed. Now, this last document here, this ICB document, I also want to reconcile. So if I head into my review tab in Hubdoc, I'll actually see, okay, great, this ICB document is here and ready to be published. Now, what many of you may or may not have seen is, documents that get uploaded that are true PDFs will get extracted automatically. The invoice number is still going to take a little bit of time in terms of extracting data from that document. We are working diligently on the back end to have that as automatic as your supplier name, bill date, and total amount. But what we'll see is that if we actually wait and give Hubdoc some time to process this, within 10 to 20 hours, we will pull out the invoice number and due date from those documents as well. So my advice being, if you are uploading true PDFs, just let them wait. And if the invoice number and due date is important for your processing for documents from that supplier, just give them a day. And once they work through our system, we will pull out the invoice number and due date from those particular documents. And as mentioned, we are working diligently to kind of help further automate that from the back end. And within, I believe about a month's time, you should see that happen automatically as well. But once again, very, very similarly, what we'll see here is that the data has been extracted, the tax rate's been applied, and since I pre-configured rules, I'm publishing this through just after reviewing all of that information. Now, what else does allowing these documents to come into review help me with? In my world, what I'm really caring about is my GST amount accurate, is the account code accurate, and are any tracking classes I may need to keep track of accurate as well. Now, what I've used for tracking as of late is, we've been attending a number of conferences around the country in the last few months. I'm sure many of you actually met us at these conferences. And so what I've done rather is I've toggled the particular conference that we are spending on that particular transaction, right? So I've been asked to track our marketing spend from conference to conference. So the ability for me just to review the document, toggle on a particular tracking class depending on when that conference was, really allows me to accurately keep track of that spend, because as you can imagine, some of these conferences were very much overlapping the last few months here. So what happens is generally my employees are on the road. They're snapping pictures of receipts and they're arriving in Hubdoc. Perhaps they're even, many of them just kind of snap pictures of documents and then email them in later, because when they email documents in, they can actually have a note on top of that document. So that's a great reminder from me. And we'll just show you an example of that. When a document with a note gets pushed into Hubdoc, that note appears at the top here. So what my employees often do is say, Dylan and Charlie lunch for ICB Melbourne. And so they would actually be able to give me more information on that document when they're emailing that into Hubdoc. That basically allows me, before publishing through to Xero, to know which tracking class to allot that particular marketing spend to. So I can show you a bit more in depth on that in a little bit here. Now, once we'll kind of finish reviewing this, I'll just click publish, and that's all going to go through to Xero. Now, once again, the reason why I like to publish through as authorized is because these are all appearing on my bank feed. So I'm just pushing through, clicking refresh, and they're matching up automatically, right? It's just the automation that creates for me by not only creating these transactions, but attaching the source document is, quite significant. And just the ability to get these kind of historical as well as recurring stuff is extremely extremely efficient for me when kind of doing my ongoing bank rec. Now, I know we've had some users ask us if we could do a bit of a scan snap demo, and I'm very, very happy to do that in a few moments here. And so we'll swing back into Hubdoc and kind of start running through that. Now, I did touch on at the very beginning just kind of my workflow and my mindset around how to keep track of documents in Hubdoc and what's been processed and what hasn't been processed. And I just want to touch on that right now. So basically, this folder structure is a really great way to go and access historical documents. If I needed to see a CBA statement from September 4th, 2017, I could go and find that in a matter of moments. It's very easy for me to go ahead and access historical documents. But for kind of ongoing purposes, if I've already finished, I guess a cleanup job, or perhaps many users just use Hubdoc from one date going forward. For all intents and purposes, you don't need to actually go and check that folder structure. What I do is I actually just keep track on what's new within the account. So starting in all documents in the all tab gives me a very brief overview and cross section of what's new and what's recently either been uploaded or fetched into that Hubdoc account. Now, I can actually iron down further and say, okay, well, once I've seen that, it kind of gives me a bit of a sense on what work I have to do. Then I might go into processing. As you can see, there's nothing in processing right now that actually hasn't been extracted yet. Now we go into review, we can see documents that still need to have action taken on them. The review tab is your inbox within Hubdoc, and the way I manage my checks and balances is if I have documents in review, that means that these actually haven't appeared on my bank feed yet. Now, in regards to this Jetstar document, as you'll see, I've actually configured this for QBO as well, so that is why it's still not published and still in the review state, even though I've connected it to Xero. Obviously, this is a demo account, so this use case would not be extremely prevalent. But the way I do keep those checks and balances and make sure I'm not duplicating anything is that I leave documents in review before I process them through. I wait till these appear on my bank feed before I push them through, because that gives me a mental note of transactions left to be reconciled in my accounting platform, right? Work that will need to be done. And so what I can also see if I come back from basically an account level is that there are, 2 documents to review remaining in Bunston's bikes, right? So that gives me a very, very good cross section of, okay, this is actually the work that I need to do. This is the document still waiting in review and items that I still need to push through and reconcile. Now, once again, in my world, I'm waiting till those come through on my bank feed. You know, suppliers seem to come across bank feeds differently depending on when they want to process that particular transaction. But I'm waiting till those come through before I publish those. But it does give me at a high level, okay, great, there's 2 left to publish through. And at that point, my work will be done for that particular period until my client is uploading more documents. Now, we do get asked a lot, when are we going to have a what's in failed tab on that portal screen? And it's definitely something on our roadmap. Obviously, documents in failed are also job to be done for you. So it's something that we're definitely concerned on, and it's really just improving that portal screen as a whole. But for right now, my advice, stay on top of these accounts, right? You're probably charging your client based on, documents processed, transactions they have in their account month in, month out. So basically how many transactions they're going to be processing every week. So for me, even though, we might have 50 transactions a week on a very high end when we're quite busy, I'm still in Hubdoc quite frequently, even if it's just for a short amount of time each day, because that's the way I can keep on top and keep on track of what work I need to do, and basically plan my time accordingly for the days ahead. So once again, using this review tab as sort of your inbox and processing documents through that way. And once the document leaves the review tab, that's my mental note that I've actually completed work on that document. So this archive check mark lets me know that I've reviewed it, or that it's not actually transactional. I don't need to publish that through. So I'll show you, I guess, a couple different examples of this. Now, your client might upload documents historically. So we'll just find a really historical document that I just might want to have here for storage purposes. Now, Hubdoc is like a cloud-based storage cabinet, right? So different than other processing platforms, we do allow you just to store documents at no extra cost. So your clients can just upload documents for cloud-based storage historically. Now, this document is transactional, but you might have a document that's not transactional, as an example, right? It might be a contract, it might be a report. So in that particular circumstance, you might just want to have a supplier name and a date. So I might just say, great, We'll have Denton's here, and we'll put in a date. I think this was many years ago. It's 2015, so we can actually just swing back to 2015, April. This is when I started at Hubdoc. So what's happened here is since we put in a supplier name and a date for this document, we've filed that document. Now, if I go and look at the account level rules for Denton's, what I'll show you is that I've actually configured my folder to go somewhere else. Now, when you first start uploading documents, anything that is an upload gets filed by supplier name under the uploads folder. But I've since gone ahead and said, you know what, Denton's is always going to be pertaining to legal fees, something with regards to legal expenses, etc. So I'm going to have those go into a legal folder. So since I applied that, if we pop into my legal folder, we do see that document appear here. Now, as you'll see, there still is a review icon on it. So what it is, and I think that this takes a little bit of time to wrap your head around, these tabs are kind of a cross-section of my document. If I go into review, quite obviously I only see my Denton's document in review, right? Meaning I still need to take action on this document. If I go into archived, quite obviously I only see documents that are in archived. For this document, for sake of this demo here, for sake of example, I'm saying this is not even a transactional document. Don't need to actually publish this through to Xero for reconciliation because there's obviously no transaction that it pertains to. So what I'll do is actually just click Archive. And it leaves the Review tab and it actually gets archived. So that's actually got the check mark on it. So that is a great way to manage, okay, great, I've done and dusted and dealt with that particular document. That's certainly how I do it. I don't let documents get check marks on them unless A, it's something I'm just pulling in, for quarter end work. So as one example of that, I actually have my bank account set up to automatically archive documents with no configured destinations because it's not transactional. It's not something that I'm actually publishing through for reconciling against an account. Certainly, it's very valuable for my accountant who is doing my BAS lodgement at quarter end to review the work that I've done is correct. But sort of beyond that, and kind of beyond that, I don't need that to come into the review tab. Now, if you'd like that to come into your review tab, you absolutely can make that happen. So once again, I can say, you know what, I'd actually want CBA statements to come into review just so I can manage that. I can do checks and balances and make sure I see it. And I want the review tab to really act like the inbox within the account. So you can see it in review, once again, before clicking archive and manually archiving that particular document. So once again, using the review tab like your inbox, using account level rules to either auto archive, let's say a banking document, or you could even auto archive manually uploaded documents if you didn't care to see that in review. We do have some users that use Hubdoc more as a filing cabinet than any ability to process documents through. They might do that because they just want to file stuff. They might be using an accounting platform that we don't actually use ourselves. And so in those circumstances, they could also just have those documents auto archive or just use that manual archive button to archive them. Now, what I'll do now is actually just do a bit of a ScanSnap demo. Is popularly demanded. So I'll just pop up on my ScanSnap desktop app. So as many of you may know, ScanSnap Cloud is not yet available in Australia, but the good news is the ScanSnap desktop app is actually available, and for many reasons, I believe it's actually, I guess, a little more robust and easier to use than the actual ScanSnap Cloud product. But as we'll see here, I've actually set up like profiles in terms of where I want documents to be scanned. So for instance, if you get a ScanSnap scanner and you're scanning documents on behalf of your client, my big suggestion is setting up profiles in terms of, how you want those documents uploaded and really where you want them sent in. So to show you what exactly I mean by that, and so the profiles are up here on the right hand side. So once I set up particular folders, so this is a Bunsen's Bike folder, this is Hubdoc Proprietary Limited, this is the account that I'm using to actually do our bookkeeping. But once I toggle these folders, the actual destination folder on my local computer changes. And so what that's going to do is just help me see the documents in the folder. I need to see them in a little bit here. And it actually really creates a ton of automation. And it's kind of like one-click upload after I scan these documents through. Now, another thing that is important to me, if I go into File option, first and foremost, it's File Format. PDF is very important to me. I want them kind of PDF so they're easy to read and kind of top quality images. Another is that each file I scan through is one PDF file per page. So this is like the PDF splitting functionality. I think that many users actually don't know that ScanSnap has this ability. It's really a great feature. You can actually put, if you have the IX500, like a chunk of invoices in the top, and process those all out through in separate PDF files. But that is really kind of a great way to automate work that you do. Now, once I click OK, I'll just click Apply, and that will be done and dusted. Another kind of important feature that Dylan has just brought to my attention, because we forgot, if you click this Convert to Searchable PDF button, it does, once again, make our data extraction much more powerful, because the searchable PDF is something that we're able to actually extract and see that data and extract it automatically. So it does take like a smidgen longer to extract, but it does create efficiencies in terms of data extraction coming through a platform. So what I'm doing now is just scanning through a couple of documents into my ScanSnap scanner. And so those actually appear here immediately, and I'm going to click Finish Scanning. Now, as we'll see, they're actually going to appear in this folder immediately. So 240 times 240, these appeared in the folder of my choosing for Bunsen's Bikes automatically. So I could have had that folder open and just double click them as soon as they came in. So the efficiencies that can create if you're still, let's say, scanning documents on behalf of your client is pretty huge. And so as we can see, this Jetstar document, since it was scanned quite nicely, was able to be read immediately. Looks like this Airbnb one wasn't scanned as nicely by me, completely my fault. But it looks like the image quality is crappy as well. But this was actually going to go through our extraction process and have that data extracted within 10 to 20 hours. But just to show you once more, make sure that your profiles are set up using the ScanSnap. So for instance, once I have this open, you set up profiles that tell Hubdoc, okay, based on this particular client, you could have a list of all of your clients here. You could add a new profile, it should be client name, whatever that client may be. You then tell ScanSnap to say, great, once I'm on that profile, you're going to scan documents in to this particular folder on my desktop. And once again, very important, if you want separate PDFs per document, you're going to want to make sure that's done at a profile level. Once you apply that, and as you scan in documents rapidly on behalf of your clients, they can get them into Hubdoc quite easily and efficiently. Now, Hubdoc and ScanSnap are kind of global partners, so we are always working on improving our integration and promoting, doing joint partner promotions. So look out for stuff on the horizon there, and we are looking at building deeper integrations to really create efficiencies in terms of how documents get into our platform. Document intake is such a huge part of any document management solution and any document processing solution. And we find that ScanSnap from everything we've seen, it is the top, scanner on the market right now. The old flatbed scanners, as Dylan likes to call them, are kind of a thing of the past, and are just too clunky. And for the value they provide, they take up too much space, and they're not that great. And if you look at a ScanSnap scanner, they're these sexy little sleek scanners that fit on a desk and are smaller than even a personal computer or a screen. So they're definitely great, and we find if you do have a client that struggles with back office and struggles with, having too many paper documents and getting documents to you, the selling point and the value proposition of getting one of these scanners is quite high. So if you don't have one yet, if you're actually struggling to find them locally at your stores, flip us an email. You can flip us an email at support@hubdoc.com.au, and we'd be happy to get you in touch with our contacts at Fujitsu to make sure that you have the ability to purchase a scanner if you're not able to find it either online or at a local store. So I'm sure there's many things that I've missed here. I think I'm going to ask Dylan if there's any kind of key questions. Dylan's going to come in here and do some things. And thanks so much, everyone. And Dylan's kind of going to take over at the very moment. Perfect. So Dylan's just going to take over and answer some great questions here. I think that one was basically my workflow works really well when you're working on a cash basis. Obviously, I'm the one that handles bill pay and also does the bookkeeping payables. So it's quite an efficient process for me. Now, when you're working on an accrual basis and the client might be paying for things after the fact and needing to review them, I believe that pushing through to the drafts section of Xero and having them arrive there, even as authorized, so they can review and pay them from that part is, I would say that the best, and Dylan can elaborate on that.
Yeah, no, I think that pretty much covers it. So yeah, so Matt's workflow was to where, as to using that, waiting for them to appear in the bank feed, like he said, definitely works well on a cash basis, but works on an accruals basis, and they do need to see what transactions they need to pay. Looking back, then you do need to publish those transactions through to Xero first, and letting those clients see those transactions that you've published through. They can then pay them and then reconcile after they've paid them. Another question that we had, and I think it's common across everyone, where they're like, you know what, my clients aren't tech savvy. I'm the advisor. I'm the one that attends these webinars. I'm the one that understands all of these applications and how they work. And that is definitely become part of your role as you've transitioned to the cloud and things like that. So clients may be a little bit scared to add accounts or just not know how to do it and not be proactive about it. Now, this add account and the connections, like Matt was saying with Telstra, is honestly one of the key draw cards of Hubdoc in terms of doing historical sort of rescue work and that side of things, as well as making sure that reconciliation process is becoming timely and without having to hassle your clients to chase them up for things that they're missing. Now, if that is the case and you've got clients that are not going to set up these connections on their own, a couple of tools that we've found that work really well. One is you've probably got meetings with your client. You're probably going there and picking up a shoebox worth of paper, or they're coming over to your office and dropping those off. Extend that meeting out. Have that meeting, rather than it be a quick 2-minute, extend it out to half an hour. They're going to spend more than half an hour getting documents to you, or you're going to spend more than half an hour chasing them up for documents across that month. And this is going to work not only for that month, but going forward indefinitely. So definitely recommend getting this open inside the account when they do have a meeting, clicking on whatever connections, go through that connections list, cross-reference it to the suppliers that you know they have. And if they don't have an online account, set them up with one. Set them up with a My Telstra account, or set them up with a Bunnings PowerPass account. And once they've got set up with that account, put their login credentials there, add it, and then it's a set and forget. You get those documents in real time, and you don't need to worry about bothering your clients again. Now, in this circumstance where you don't have meetings with your client, use a free sort of meeting room, so a virtual meeting room, something like a Zoom meeting or a team builder, team viewer, I think it's called. There's a million options out there. Do a screen share with them. Flip the controls over to them when you get to this page. Let them put their credentials in for that online portal. Add the account, and then again, it's just a set and forget. So definitely some handy workflow tools there in terms of getting those connections added. May take a little bit of time in terms of that initial meeting and getting those set up, but like we've said, it does all of the historical stuff for you for rescue work. And then even if it is on a going forward basis, it's going to save you chasing up for those supplier invoices going forward. Now, I believe most of the other questions were answered by Matt in terms of looking at documents in review, looking at workflows, and all the other wonderful questions that you had. Everyone was super engaged on this. You definitely kept me on my toes with all of those questions that came through. I will give you a moment. If there's anything else, please put those in the questions panel now. Perfect. Did everyone hear everything that I just went through? If I can just confirm, we're just having some issues with sound. Perfect. I think we're okay. Hopefully everyone heard that. If you do have, yeah, perfect. Thanks, Jane. Appreciate it. So yeah, as long as everyone heard that and sort of got those workflows in terms of adding accounts, that's perfect. Doesn't look like there's any other questions. Sorry, we definitely ran over time, but that's just because there were quite a few questions and people were sort of asking for scan snap demos as well. So that's why we ran a bit over time. So I do apologize for that. We will be sending you a copy of this recording as well, so please feel free to share that around to anyone else that you think may find that valuable or that may be interested in Hubdoc and just not 100% sure of how we work. So I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you so much for taking the time to attend today's webinar. If you do have any questions that you didn't get a chance to ask, if you're in the app, you can submit a ticket and it will reach out to our support team. You can also email us at support@hubdoc.com.au, or you can dial into us at 087444 5026. So that's 087444 5026. Although that doesn't seem like a Sydney number, it's basically Zendesk chat, so that's what we use. That's why it's a funny number. And you can dial into that. That will link you to our support team here in Sydney, and we can jump on the call and answer any questions that you may have. Awesome. Thank you so much. There may be another couple of questions that have just come through after the fact. I will get to those individually. But for the moment, thank you so much for attending today's webinar. Really appreciate it. And if there are any other webinars that are coming up in the future, we'll definitely reach out to you like we did with this one and let you know. So thanks again, everyone. Really appreciate it and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Cheers.